What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves, physically, emotionally, and spiritually?
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago, we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique.
Help other people to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores Cannon has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT. Now you can learn her method by going directly to themoreshow.com/QHHT. And don't forget to mention the discount coupon MORETALKS. Can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They call us channelers. Will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
Florida, have been in Florida for about 20 years. I currently channel the white light among other entities, and I am a personal coach and also do spiritual readings for those that want to contact transition loved ones and spirit guides.
Talk about, and I've got pages of questions here, to be honest with you, that I just don't think we're going to get through, but I'll do my best just to get to the main points that I think are important. I think to begin with, just tell the audience what it is that you actually do with the work that you're doing right now.
With the work that I do. Well, I have a partner, Gary Temple Bodley, at the Teachings of Joshua. He has a podcast that's been going for about 9 or 10 years. And he channels Joshua, which is a group of non-physical entities that are teachers. I contribute with him. I'm on that podcast channeling white light occasionally. Gary and I create courses. Right now we have 3 courses currently happening, and we are in the process of creating a 4th that's based on quantum theory. I also provide personal coaching for typically those that are going through our courses, but really for anyone. And I do occasionally do private readings, which are really spiritual messages for those that I read for that come through transition loved ones, spirit guides, and that sort of thing. I discovered an ability as a medium a couple of years ago, almost.
Right. And I know this has happened very quickly for yourself. Gary has obviously been on the show before, and we'll link his previous interview in the description below. And it was Gary that actually I've got you to come on the show. I was going to say, actually, he approached me, but you didn't know about it at the time, but he really
He's a
wanted
little
you to come on.
sneaky.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad he did, because your way of doing things is so different. On maybe from the outside it won't look different, but once you start getting into the information that you bring through, it's there's something special about what you do. Do you know that? I said that to you off air when we spoke yesterday.
You did, and that's very nice feedback to hear. I have very little context for it because I really don't watch other channels. I didn't believe in spiritual mediums until it started to happen for me, and I definitely have an interest in staying hidden. So but I appreciate that very much, and it feels special to me. But it's because it's me, I guess.
Well, Gary must have seen something in the work that you do for him to, well, for you guys to be working together as well right now, for this to be your full-time work.
That has been it's such a transition that I sit here now and think I can't really believe that's what has happened in 2 years. But really, if it wasn't for Gary, I wouldn't be sitting here. That's just honestly, that's the truth of it. I did his boot camp that he channeled with Joshua. I did that several times. And in doing that and doing the daily spiritual practice and the meditation, that is really how I believe I got to this vibration and this perspective that allowed these things to start to occur. The medium, some of that stuff. And Gary was instrumental in encouraging me. And then as white light began to come in and I kept it rather private, it was months of Gary encouraging me and saying, no, let's see what they have to say. I'm asking them and doing that. And then ideas that came out from them that we just decided to do together. And we're attempting to work on a book together and, lots of things. So yeah, it's because of him and then with him really that I'm doing it. So.
That's incredible. Yeah, I like what Gary does. He channels Joshua. And we'll just put him on the screen just right now, just to show a clip of the previous interview that we did together. So you channel the white light. I've got the word the center here. Is that something else or the same thing, or?
That is whenever Gary would ask white light who they were. Who are you? Where are you? They would just say, we're the center. We're you. We're the center of you. And that has always just been the explanation. We really don't know, where Joshua will explain we are a group of teachers, those in physical and non-physical that want to teach. They will explain themselves that way, but white light does not. They just say, we're Christy's teacher, and we acquiesce to whatever she asks that will help her learn. So we don't know exactly.
Yeah. Now, are you conscious when you're giving these readings in the sense that you remember what was said?
Well, with white light, I didn't used to be. I used to completely be out. And then they did teach me how to channel and allow them to speak while I could still be conscious. Now I'm very far back. So I can see everyone. I can see through the screen if I'm doing it on Zoom, but I have no ability to stop or control what they say at all. There's no translation happening. They are speaking. Now, the readings are a different thing when I'm working and bringing in transition loved ones or spirit guides. That is a different experience altogether. I'm completely conscious. That's Christy. I'm 100% Christy.
Yeah, because you sort of mentioned the word psychic there as the best way to describe it, right? And these are only words, but you feel that there's a psychic element to this, and then there's the guides, the team, the white light that you're working with, the center.
Right. Right. I call them white light simply because when I was first introduced to them, and it's a bit of a story, but I was in a meditation, and it was actually the group Joshua that I happened to be speaking to in my meditation, just because I would reach out to them occasionally. They were my teacher. So they introduced me and said, we want to introduce you to your next teacher. And they just pulled back a curtain, and it was this vivid, bright white light. I wouldn't have been able to look into it if it was my physical eyes. It was so bright, but it was meditation. There was nothing physical about it. So I just named them. I said, oh, white light, my white light teacher. So from January really to September, I just kept them around with me privately. They just were with me all the time, like my inner self in a sense, just constant conversation. And the concepts that they would bring out were incredible. I would test them out on friends, and my friends would just, wow, these are amazing new thoughts, things we have never thought of before.
Yeah.
So that's
well,
that.
I've seen you sent me some clips. I've seen you giving readings to people. You don't know these people from Adam in some respects, right? You may have met them on a Zoom call once, but the information that you're bringing through, you don't know any of that stuff, right? And it was just so incredible to watch. There's something, I don't know, I just can't put my finger on it, right? But it's good. It's really good. And how long have you been doing this? Let's just sort of establish that as well right now.
Okay. It was in Thanksgiving of 21, the first time what I call the dead people. I don't know how else to describe. No, it doesn't sound very nice, but the dead people, the first one came through, and it was a friend. It was her grandmother. And so that was 21. And that began to develop little visits here or there. And I was able to recognize it pretty easily because I have a terrible imagination. I can't picture things. Guided meditations are hard for me. And they say, oh, we're going down a stream. Imagine you're doing that. I can't do it. So when pictures and images would come in, I knew it was something. And I would begin to guess, okay, is this this? Is this this? And as soon as I would get it right, then the image would go away. And I would get smells and physical sensation. I could feel things, and it would be very descriptive. So that was in September of 21. Then in 22, January, February, that's when white light came in, and that became something else, something that I could channel in a different way. And then other just psychic abilities to find things, to be in a location and see events, or to maybe look at a building and see it and tell when it was built, what year it was built.
Almost just like a remote viewing type of thing.
A little bit. And I can do that as well, but very specifically, I can do it easily with Gary and with people that I know well, or finding objects for them. I can at times do that too. So it's a alphabet soup of psychic.
It is, absolutely. Do you think there's a sort of timing to this in a sense? Because had you done this before, was home life ready for it? Was work life ready for it? You must have a supporting partner, because I know that, you guys have been working together on a previous, on a business together, whether more than one, right? And but there must be support from him. Do you think it's all about timing with what you've gone through, the transformation you've gone through?
Kevin, I would have to say yes, because there's a part of me that believes very strongly in that, just that divine timing. But it was so much about how much I changed my perspective on myself, and understand it wasn't something I was looking for. I wasn't missing being psychic. I didn't believe in it. I didn't believe in mediums. I saw that and I thought, that's a plant. That's ridiculous. So my belief structure was a little closed down, but I was doing this inner work because my life, while it was good, it was really good. A beautiful daughter, lovely family, and really probably financially lived as well as, 1% of the planet, the top 1% of the planet, but still all those worries, all that control, relationships, just never what I knew they could be. And I just waking up in the morning with that pit of anxiety in my stomach every single day for years. It didn't matter what the job I was doing. It didn't matter the relationship, going through some traumatic events. And I said, no, there's gotta be more. So when I started doing the work, and I mean doing it, I was reading and writing and doing exercises, and I was meditating, and I got more and more comfortable meditating and began to do it 2, 3, 4 times a day for 30 minutes, an hour. And I was busy. I was a busy mom. I had all sorts of things going on, corporate life, all kinds of things, but I was just dedicated to it. And I noticed I felt better. And that was really all I guess I cared about. I think that's all any of us really care about, is how do I just feel better? The things we think we want, we really, if you pin it down, it's because you think you're going to feel better when you have it. It's not because of that thing. It's because I'll feel better. So I think that was it. I felt better doing the meditation, and then these other things just showed up. And it wasn't without some drama in my family. I mean, Drew was not comfortable with it at first. It was very difficult. He's transitioned now to being much more supportive of it and interested in it and doing the work himself now as well. But it came with a lot of struggles and some things that did kind of fall away.
Interesting. I was just going to ask you that. Yeah, how's the family taking this transformation? Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, my mother obviously was wonderful. So where I say obviously, but I guess a lot of people don't have that. My mom was great. She's the one who took me on this spiritual path from the beginning. She's always been the leader of that with me. She introduced me to everything other than Joshua. And Drew did the work with me. My daughter has done the boot camp. So they are okay with the transformation. Some of the challenges it brings are just other things, being away more, and a shift in a lot of other things. And that in and of itself just creates some change, because there has to be, when you make that kind of change vibrationally, things around you do shift and change. But the people that you love and that love you are always going to be with you in some way. And even though things may look a bit different, you never lose them, really. So,
well, I think that's a testimony of any time anyone goes into a new, I want to use the word purpose, but I really want to use the word that I used with you the other day, more value, fulfillment, and more, that they feel fulfilled in what they're doing. It's what they're supposed to be doing. There's going to be that shift, isn't there? For whatever that direction you've gone into, right?
Yeah. I think so. I believe that's scary too. I think if you had told me 2 years ago, this, as a result of doing this boot camp and doing these things, you're going to become a medium, you're going to be psychic, you're then going to become a channel, and you're going to be answering questions for people all over the world. And I would have said, hell no, I don't want anything to do with that. And I'm an unlikely one. Corporate, social climber, party, I'm not, not a vegan, I'm the opposite, the antithesis of what you would think someone would be here. But it's just a result. Anyone can be here. It's just, it's a result of doing that work and being authentic, not trying to change to be some image of something.
Absolutely. And from hearing back just some of the example past sessions that you've done with people, this is different. They come to you with any questions. People can come to you with whatever's, causing them to want to get a session with yourself. But what's coming through is sort of spiritual teachings, cheerleading, and trying to get people on their path in a sense.
I love that you use the word cheerleader. That, because I was a cheerleader my whole life. I've just never heard anyone say that. It's great, and it's absolutely true. I've never looked at it like that. But the coaching sessions that are just with me or with me and White Light are very much that. The private readings where we bring in transition loved ones and spirit guides are definitely that. And it really doesn't matter where someone is on their path. I get people at all different levels, people that have never considered the word meditate, are deeply into Christianity, and they have no idea of anything that I'm talking about and teaching, and yet the message still comes through, and it's very much the same for everyone. It just gets deeper and more intense. The instructions, the plans for them get more intense the more that they already do. If they already meditate and they already do this, then the plan, that the blueprint for them is a little more intense.
Right, absolutely. What's been, if you just name one, what's been maybe the biggest one for you, the biggest change in yourself since doing this work?
It's identity, the breaking down of my identity. Slowly but surely, those things that I leaned on that I thought made me who I am, my mother, wife, breadwinner, corporate salesperson, these types of things that I thought were me. I thought were who I am. And really what they are is not that they aren't a part of who I am. They're just really limiting. And I've just learned that in doing this, that image of who I think I am or what I want people to see just can't be there. It's falling away more and more and more. And that's, it's interesting because even in the spiritual work, you might think I want people to think a certain way about me, right? To think that, like I said, like I'm a vegan and I never smoke a cigarette and I wouldn't drink anything and eat all these, right? I don't say bad words and none of that is true. I'm just who I am. I eat meat and pasta and, I will drink wine or, have a cocktail, any of these things. And I'm just who I am. And I think that's probably the biggest change is that I've let go of identifying with anything in particular and just relaxed into just being who I am in the moment, being okay with that.
That must have been a big change. And yeah, I suppose as well, in caring what people think.
Well, yeah. And if you know me and you knew my history, you would know that that's probably the number one thing I cared about in my life. It sounds very selfish, and I don't mean that I didn't love my family and love my pets and all of that. And but really what mattered, the reason I did most anything was because of what other people would think, or the reason I wouldn't do something, the reason I wouldn't go outside and smoke a cigarette at a party, right? Because I would want those people to think a certain thing about me, or the reason that I wouldn't speak in a certain way or dress a certain way or go somewhere looking a certain way was because of what other people would think. And just slowly, little by little, letting go of my death grip on that and realizing I don't die.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah. Because you're not someone that comes across, and I think you've said this to me previously as well, that, you're not afraid of things. And I mean, that was obvious even in your early years when you lived in the UK, spent time in Paris, you traveled and you lived a life at a young age. In your early 20s, you were doing, you were jet setting.
I did. I left college and went to Europe, and I lived there for quite some time, and then went out west and lived out there, worked on a ranch and had a great time doing that, rock climbing and bungee jumping. I love that sort of thrill seeking thing. So Gary said to me one time several years ago, he said, I think something about you came into this life just to push past fear. Just to do daring things. And that's true. I've done a lot of very edgy and daring things just to see if I could.
Yeah. And I'm sure this will inspire others when they watch this as well, that, whatever they want to go into, it's all possible. Absolutely. So your mother was very inspirational on your early spiritual path. I think she got you into the Abraham Hicks material.
She did.
Yeah.
She certainly did.
Yeah, and you had read, one or two Seth books back in the day as well, because it was kind of, the in thing, wasn't it, at one point, those books?
It was, right. When I was in college, I read it, but at the time, I didn't realize it was channeled. I didn't know what channeled was. I'm not sure what I thought when looking back on it. What did you think? I don't know. I have no idea. I just thought it was great. It rang true for me. This is so true. This is it, right? I knew it. And then, of course, in Miracles, my mother led me to, and then Wayne Dyer and different things through the years that just, I knew, like, this stuff is true. I know they're on it. I know they've got something.
Do you think she had, do you think she had the gift in a sense? Do you think that she never, she just, it was there, but, obviously she never went public with it?
You talking about my mom? Oh, I do, actually. She didn't have the same self-confidence. She didn't have the same ability to push past fear that I do. and I do partly because of her, partly because of watching her and what her life was like. But she just never felt like, I think she always felt like the answers were outside of her. And she was always seeking and always seeking. And she would teach and she would write, and the things she would write were beautiful. But then she would just, and she just didn't have the confidence to do it and put it out there.
But yeah, for me, it seems to be generational. It's sort of, there's something about this ability, this openness, that sort of, it's in the family somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's really perhaps true. Like that one experience leads to the next and leads to the next. And I have a belief that from that non-physical, that bigger part of us, that we actually choose where we're born. We choose our parents, and we choose the time and date, all these things of our birth. I have a lot of reasons for believing that, but that would make sense to what you said. Okay, well, these are the gifts that I'm bringing with me. This is what I want to develop. And this particular mother, this particular father, this will help me. This will ensure that I do that. And I think it makes sense.
Absolutely. So let's get to actually, I was going to say, let's get to the point with Gary and the meditation. But just before that,
Yeah.
You've had many points in your life where there's, I suppose life's, well, I was going to say, has tried to awaken you, I should say. There was the murder of your boyfriend by your ex-husband,
Yes.
where your boyfriend, I believe, was shot multiple times.
18 times.
18 times, yeah. I mean, not many people go through that sort of experience. But
No.
yeah, what did that experience show you in a sense?
Yeah, Kevin, it was a couple of things, and it's still showing me, if that tells you anything. There's still things I've learned from it today. Let's say that I was approximately 30, and leading up to that experience, I had started meditating again because I was very generally unhappy with my life. I loved him. Beautiful home we had just built, and I was having a good time, but something was definitely missing from my life. So I started meditating dramatically, 3-4 times a day, hours at a time. And you wouldn't think I was working full time too, but I was sneaking away into the bathroom just to meditate for an hour. So after about 3 weeks of that, I got a call from my cousin. She invited me to North Carolina. I had not seen her in years, and we were close when we were kids. So I jumped at the invitation, but I kept it very quiet because it was last minute. And I didn't want anyone at work to know. I just got someone to cover for me. And it was very strange. And I just jumped on a plane and went. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was around 6 o'clock that night that my ex-husband came to the house that I just built with my boyfriend at the time and shot him. So I really recoiled from meditation for a number of years because at that age, and I mean, I guess it would make sense. I thought somehow I had caused it. I had wanted to change, and I started this meditation, and I thought there's some weird power in this, and I caused something terrible to happen because I don't know what I'm doing. So I just quit meditating. And so I really didn't wake up, but in other ways I did, right? In other ways I took off. Drew and I knew each other. He went with me. We moved to Florida. I had to. I was being followed by the police trying to protect me, and they just couldn't do it anymore. And working with the FBI, they couldn't arrest this guy. So they said, you're going to have to disappear. So I did. I disappeared and moved to Florida from where I was and went on with life and followed Abraham, but I wouldn't meditate again until I met Gary and the teachings of Joshua.
Wow.
And
Well, I'm not surprised. Yeah. Did they actually apprehend him in the end?
They did. Eventually, several years later, we had a trial, and he's in. He was given the maximum that he could get. He's going to be eligible for parole in the not too distant future. But yes,
that's incredible. Yeah, I mean, something like that. It ripples to so many people's lives. An event like that does. The family, the friends. Just yeah. I mean, it affected so many people,
And I took it in that negative way. Now I understand with what I believe about who we are and how we're all connected, that what my ex-husband did and what my boyfriend at the time did, what everyone did was for me. They stepped up in a way and said, okay, I'll play this part this time. This will be for you. And it's like this band of brothers, as Gary calls it, that came in, and this particular turn was my turn to really have some of these experiences and to wake up in this life to more truly who I am and what I could become. So in that, there's so much forgiveness, so much love. I if I were asked to go to a parole hearing, I would say, I know no one will understand this, but I'm grateful to him and grateful to Tiny for doing what he did and all of those things. So
would you say that was an example of some events that are sort of destined to happen, even though there's free will involved, that it doesn't have to happen, but there's a cross point somewhere where has all the potential of the energy leading up to that, and it's agreed upon before we come down here, maybe?
I do. It sounds a little, I know it sounds woo-woo. I'm not really that, but yes, I do. And even when I've started to channel some things from white light that are involved, that revolve around this quantum physics and this quantum field, then yes, even more so. So however you want to look at it, if it's a non-physical perspective and is your soul family in this group and you determine you're going to do this, I do believe in free will, but only in the sense that how we see what experience we're going through, how we experience it. And it can make an experience look as different as being on a beach or laying in a hospital bed. As white light explains it to me, you will say that it's not the same experience, but it is from a different perspective, and how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your life. That's what you will experience in which way. So yeah, I think that had to happen. It had to happen exactly like it did. And it was perfect. Yeah.
And you were able, as you say, to sort of forgive as well. There are many people walking around just in America, right, that are just not able to go into that space, even maybe 30 years, 40 years after the event. And they carry that energy with them of not having forgiven or let go. Well, I was going to say let go, but there's so many ways to describe it. But they're hanging on to that in a sense, and I just don't think that can be healthy long term. But everyone's on a different journey, and I respect where people are. But yeah, the forgiveness part is powerful, and it helps so much.
It is, and I say, I've gone from forgiveness to gratitude. That's even a jump. It's gratitude in a way that I can't describe it to you, that could bring me to my knees in tears, to both of them and everyone else that went through what they went through, just to give me that gift that they did, which is my life now and what I know and what I've learned and what I've been able to experience, to carry around that. I used to hear that a lot of times, and people say, "Oh, I forgave the person that murdered my daughter," or whatever. And I understood. Certainly, I get that you would do that for you, because there's relief in that, to not hold that and carry it around. But when you really get into this and you start to understand that what you're creating, your next moment, your next now, every now moment comes out of how you feel, comes out of your perspective, that's your vibration. And you say, okay, I'm just repeating things in my life that continue this feeling, this dominant feeling that I have in whatever area. Then you recognize that you don't forgive someone for them at all. They are you. Everyone is you. But you forgive and then go to gratitude for you, because the only thing you care about is how you feel. You imagine that revenge is going to make you feel better, but really you're just trying to control a condition that you can never control.
Absolutely. And we'll get into that as well. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. So this, kind of, as you say, came into its power when you really started to go into meditation, and it's been a big key to this the journey that you're on now. And I when we spoke, I heard you when you said meditation's so important, and I need to start doing that. So that stayed with me still since yesterday, our conversation, and it's something I'm going to really give myself starting today, right? Because as you said, that meditation, it just, it accelerates you so much. And do you understand why it does? And what the benefits are of it from your perspective?
I do. I would explain it like this. You have your life, and you have every situation, every person, everything that you've ever experienced. And as you look at it, think about it, you have an emotion that's attached to it. So, for example, you see your ex and you feel resentment immediately. You see your parents and you feel guilt, right? You see your boss and you feel overwhelmed or some sort of other type of fear. And you start to attach these emotions to every aspect of your life. It's what we do. We're feeling humans. All we are ever doing is feeling something. Then what begins to happen is that you wake up in the morning and you start to remind yourself of, okay, this is who I am. And you think of all the things from your past that are your identity or that are your life. And you start your day right away with reminding yourself of who you believe you are based on all of these emotions that you've tied to every experience. And it keeps you at a certain set point. And it keeps things in your life generally showing up sort of the same things, right? You expand, you improve. This might look a little better. This might look a little, but generally it's kind of the same stuff, right? Over and over again. When you go into a meditation, you quiet that and you get into that space that's just blackness, that I call it the void we were joking about, where you really are nothing, right? You're no one. You don't have a sense of who you are. You can't feel your body. So you don't even have a body. And all of a sudden these thoughts don't exist. And for a bit of time, whether it's 10 minutes or 30 minutes, these emotions no longer exist and the thoughts don't exist. And in that space is where possibility is. The possibility for something, for whatever is out there for you at any moment. Every possibility for you is created. Every possibility from every step you take, every desire you have, every possibility, the way that could look is there. But as humans, we tend to go to the worst possible scenario, right? When you meditate and you allow that space to be blank, you allow that possibility, so that now you have just changed, essentially you genetically changed your future. You're no longer producing those chemicals that are based on those emotions of fear and resentment. And you just have this space. So now you have possibility. That place of quiet time, of slowing down thought, also allowed me, and I think everyone else, when I come back and I'm focusing back in the world, I can begin to recognize thought. I can actually consciously slow them down and say, whoa, what is that? Right? I feel anxious right now. What am I thinking about? What is it? And I can slow that thought down and say, no, wait, right? These thoughts aren't me. I'm just attracting them. And meditation does that. It leverages, in my opinion, the power that creates worlds. I cannot lift certain things. I can't do it with enough effort. There's not enough time in the world for me to make certain things happen in my life. But when I get quiet and I get in touch with more of who I am, and I'm connected to that universe, that source energy, that inner self of mine, and I consciously make that connection, I have now leveraged that power to create everything around me, and I don't have to do anything. That's a joke I've said forever. I heard a long time ago, was that Gandhi laid down most of the time and the British still left India, right? And yeah, there wasn't enough that he could do, this little man, right? But it still happened. And you really don't have to do anything when you meditate and leverage that power. Then you can just listen to inspiration, and the one action you take is 20 times more powerful than the one you took in effort and struggle.
Right. Absolutely. So your website as well, please.
Yes, it is ChristyLevy.com.
Excellent.
Just ChristyLevy.com.
Excellent. Okay. How would you describe your work in the sense of being different to the law of attraction, or maybe what the differences are in some respects?
Well, the law of attraction is just one law of the universe, right? There are many. There's, law of continuity, coherence. There's many universal laws. The law of attraction is the one that gets the most press because it tells everyone that you essentially get what you think about, or you get what you put out. And that's something that I think most people in a 3D sort of paradigm think that they can control, right? Law of attraction says that like attracts like. So if I think positive thoughts, I will get positive things. And law of attraction becomes something that everyone uses to try to fix their life, to fix all of these things that they think are broken. And everyone eventually gets stuck in that. I did the same thing, right? When I started listening to, Abraham. I mean, even in A Course in Miracles, there was mention of that and talk of that. And I said, okay, great. Then this is how I'm going to get all my stuff, right? This is how I'm going to. And I started to, over time, recognize in meditation and a lot of practice and study, some courses that I took, the boot camp and things like that, what you're doing in that law of attraction and thinking that you're going to fix things is that you're staying in the vibration of I don't have it. You're wanting to get the money because you don't have the money. You want the new car because or you want the new partner because you're lonely. And that is not a match. You cannot generate in front of you and see reflected in your life that which you do not feel. You must feel it first. So I think with what Gary and I teach in the courses that we've brought forward are very practical ways to change that vibration, to understand that your vibration is your perspective. What is that? It's how you see yourself in every aspect of your reality, your health and your relationships, your finances, your career, all of these things. And then how do you begin to change that and adjust that perspective so that you change the frequency of what you're putting out there, you feel better. And then what begins to reflect back to you is based on how you now feel, how you see yourself. That's really the best way that I can describe it. It begins with law of attraction. It's just so much more than that.
So you've mentioned this in the interview as well, but I'll reiterate it. We create with our feelings. That's how you feel this works. Yeah,
you have just tapped on something that I just channeled a week ago. And it was brand new. And it's one of those moments where I'm talking with a group of people that they're gathered to ask questions of white light. And I can hear what white light is saying. I can feel it. And I want to stop them. Please don't say that because this is new and everyone's going to freak out. So, but yeah, essentially I'm beginning to understand that this earth reality, this three-dimensional reality is a bit of, I'm going to call it an experiment. And there are several ways to create in this universe. And one of them is with thought. One is just with frequency, and the other is with feeling. And this is an experiment in a sense of creating with feeling. And what white light was explaining to me is that compassion being the biggest one here, what we are learning on earth and what we are doing with our humanity is that we understand what it's like to feel like a victim to be a victim of something. So we very much do not want to perpetrate. And we have so much compassion, and that compassion then moves up through the dimensions to other physical realities. I'll listen, I know that's out there, but moves up and teaches other races at 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, other dimensions, densities, how to actually feel compassion. And so what we're doing here is that we have a thought that we attract based on our perspective, our vibration, and we just attract thoughts. We don't create them. When we attract these thoughts, and with our brain and our identity and these things, we personalize that. So that used to bother me. How would I attract a thought that was about my daughter and my car and her horse and all of these things? And that's not it. It's a thought form. And then you personalize that thought. And with that thought, you have a feeling about that. And that feeling wraps around that thought. And the feeling is what moves through this field. It's what moves out. And the intensity of the feeling amplifies the frequency of the emotion and the thought that are carried out. And that is how we create. So White Light explained to me, they said, you can say all you want. I am healthy. I am rich. I am loved, whatever. And until you feel it, until it's anchored in your body with emotion, it does absolutely nothing. You guys are creating with feeling, and it has never been done before.
Right. Well, I said to you, the sort of, I said this just yesterday, the main thing that came through most of the channels that I interviewed was live in purpose, live in passion, do what you would love to do.
Yeah.
And is that not the same thing?
I think it is. I think that's just, to me, that's so esoteric. Live in passion, live in what you want to do. Well, 9 out of 10 people I talk to have no flipping clue what that is. They don't know what they want to do, right? So I'm going to stand there and say, live what you want to do. What do you want to do? Well, sometimes it just do what you're doing, right? Do what you're doing. Live the life you're living because it's perfect for you. But get to this place where you can look at it and accept it and say, maybe I don't love everything. Maybe I don't even like everything, but I can see that it's perfect for me right now. And I can accept this and meditate and get inside in that place of void where you just get to know who you are and that connection. And in that, you start to hear inspiration. And the inspiration may be silly. It may be, walk down the street. It may tell you to do something that seems to be in a direction that is opposite to that ideal that you have created. Well, that's not going to get me the girlfriend I want. That's not going to get me the new car. So you don't follow the inspiration. But when you start to meditate and relax and accept that there's nothing that you need from outside of you, that your reality is perfect, just like it is, and take a breath, let yourself off the hook, you start to hear inspiration. And just like me, you end up 2 years later in something that is so satisfying and so much fun that you never knew you wanted. And that's it. If I had been running the show, Kevin, I would never be here, right? I'd be driving a Bentley and, it wouldn't be this, right? But I never knew I wanted this. And I'm so incredibly happy.
So everything is leading you somewhere then?
I do think so. And I think it really is a matter of how you look at it, how you see yourself, and letting go of these ideal outcomes that we all have. That if I have this and if I have that, if this goes well, if this person listens to this, if this, then I'll be happy. If this looks this way. Because most of what comes to us that turns out to be the most beautiful thing in our life does not initially look like the package we thought we were expecting it to be. So that openness and that only comes in changing your perspective and looking at your current reality and accepting it and accepting yourself and saying, okay, this is it. And from here, I can go anywhere, but I am going to listen, because there's what I think I want. And then there's what I truly want. And what I truly want, I can't know, but my inner self knows what that is.
Right. Okay. So it's perfect for me right now. Everything that is perfect right now.
Right now.
Yeah. And as I just said, everything is leading you, and it's going. And you've played around with inspiration. You've kind of you've recognized what is that deeper inspiration compared to maybe what's mind noise in a sense.
Yeah. To me, and what I learned in the boot camp, and what I've learned more from White Light and Joshua, is that really you can break it down into two things. These ideas that you might have to take some sort of action, whether it's to scoot your chair this way or to take a trip to Paris, right? It's whatever the action might be. And those two things would be, one, an urge to control or change a condition. The other would be an inspiration. And when you receive an inspiration, there's always fear. That's the design. Now, how big the fear and can you push past it depends on how the inspiration and the desire relates to that fear that you feel. So a simple inspiration to call a friend, and the fear that pops up is, oh gosh, it's the middle of the day, she's busy. Or I only have a few minutes left here and then I have to go, I don't have time. Those are just little fears. An inspiration that says, think about taking a trip to Paris. And your first action you can take is to grab the computer and look up flights. The fear might be, I need to be working. I couldn't possibly have money to go to Paris. What am I thinking? I've got the biggest presentation in 2 months. I can't go anywhere. Those are fears, because that's inspiration. An urge might be that, someone has done something and you want to make sure that they understand they've crossed a line, right? I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to protect myself. You want to let your client know that you've gone above and beyond for them. That's an urge to control a condition, because you want some sort of outcome out of something. When I started breaking it down in all these little actions, and I'm telling you, there's times it's tedious. And I think, God, this is a lot of work. But over time, it becomes natural, and you start to be able to hear the difference. And that's all it is. And I follow the little stupid ones, right?
Right.
Just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you're bringing through some high level stuff here, right? And I believe your group has talked about, that's my word, your group, but White Light has talked about using quantum physics to explain how things work in the physical reality. That must have been a bit nerve-wracking bringing that through in a sense. But, just very, very briefly, if you just want to, touch upon that.
Okay. So Gary and I have channeled one course together called Basic Training, and it's very much in the spiritual realm of things, and the study of this with the inner self and source energy and that sort of thing, right? Is a little more spiritual. And the last time I was in North Carolina, I started writing, and really after a day or two of writing, I said, I'm not sure. He kept asking. I said, I'm not sure what this is, but I think it's physics. I'm in no way, shape, or form that. So it came out pages and pages. And then, as we do, I gave it to him. And I was not able to look anything up. When I say not able to, it's not like, I have some spirit holding my hands down, but I just get the sense from them. I would get some kind of a theory or a word entanglement, or some scientist name, Schrodinger, or whatever. And I would say, who's that? And I want to look it up, or an experiment that they would give me. And I would say, I'm going to look that up. And I would very clearly get, no, don't. That's what they call entropic, which is just regurgitation. That the internet is just the same things over and over and over again. We're feeding the internet, and then we're looking to the internet for our answers, and we're feeding it. No, get your answers here. When this is all said and done, you will know exactly where to go to find information to support, to find graphs and charts, studies. You'll be led there, so don't worry about it. And who cares if what you're saying is all wrong, right? So I just kept writing. Gary took it, and then he does what I call Joshua injects it, right? He reads it, and then he channels Joshua, and Joshua says, okay, do this and this, and it's like collaboration. And in that, he would look some things up, and he came out and he's, Chris, 100%. Everything you're saying is, I can document even the little experiment. So I gained a little confidence, but it's very interesting because it's given me, I'm a little bit more minded that way, right? I'm not very woo-woo. I resist that stuff until I just can't resist it anymore. But this is a way to explain this. And dang, it's exactly the same. It's the same stuff. It's just explained differently. And it's like science completely supported everything that I've been studying for a long time and practicing and believing more and more. Science is actually proving why and what is going on in this field, this quantum field, and at this quantum level, what it all is, and that we're really all one, and how connected we all are. It's crazy. And I think it's going to give us, Gary and I, a course now that we will be able to bring to people that really aren't in a spiritual mind. They're maybe, more in that scientific mind. And it doesn't matter to me. I could care less how you get there, right? All leads to the same place. So if we can work with people in this way and have them understand it in a scientific way and watch their lives change and see them feel better and feel less like victims and more like understanding that they are creators, that's worth everything.
That's
so
fantastic.
Really yeah,
absolutely. And that first course again is on your website. The links are in the description below for this video as well. You seem like quite a discerning person, right? I think that's a good thing to have that quality as well. I think you need to be able to discern. I guess if you were letting something through that wasn't of your highest good, you would sense that. You'd know.
I think, yeah, absolutely. If I look at the way my life has gone, I can use one example that we've already talked about, which is the fact that there was a person that was coming to my house to kill me and came to do that. And I was pulled right from there, and I listened and I went right with it, and I wasn't there. And so if that is the case, then there's nothing that can hurt me, right? There's nothing. I just don't need to be afraid of anything. Everything in this universe is love, everything. And what we see that is not love, or we perceive as hate or something like that, it's just love without information. It's love without any understanding, without any knowledge. And once the knowledge, the information, and the knowing it comes in, then you can see the love in it. And so I don't know. I guess I listen to things. There are things I like more than others, right? There might be something, that I see that really resonates, and some things that I say, I don't get it. But sometimes I'll find that 2 years later, I'll come right back to it and say, man, here I am. Okay.
Absolutely. And I would say that your work does come from love. And I suppose I've asked that question to many channels, how do you discern what's coming through, but you know what's of the highest calling and what's coming from the right space as well. As you say, love. So thank you for that. So I've written this down. There are no mistakes, just experiences. That's my way of saying it, I think.
Yes. 100% agree. I would say that you have never made a mistake. Not ever. Not one time. You have never gotten anything wrong. You've never made a wrong decision. You've never said the wrong thing. Everything is right. Everything is right. It's the first words Joshua wrote. And it's true to me. It's everything in the universe. It's all God. It's all love. How could it be wrong? Now, could you come from a lower perspective and say or do something that from a higher perspective you would not have? But it's not possible to do that, because everyone and everything around you in that moment of that experience was a perfect match to that. And it's exactly what needed to happen.
It's hard to see it from that perspective, isn't it? When people are suffering from that same perspective as well. But maybe, I mean, maybe there's growth in that in ways that they can't grow unless they'd gone through that experience. But why the pain? Why the extremeness? For example, your ex-boyfriend being shot multiple times. Why did he have to? And hopefully he was pulled from his body, and he didn't suffer. I would think that would be the case. I would hope it would be the case, depending on how resistive we are, maybe on crossing over. But I would hope that to be the case. But something as painful as that, it's still very difficult to come from that space.
Right.
Most definitely. But because some people could say, well, how could that be his highest choice? Being riddled with bullets and potentially, even though I'm saying he didn't suffer, but potentially, people could say that he, that he did. Very difficult, isn't it? Yeah.
And I understand that, and it's so easy for me to feel compassion and to speak with someone when they're in it, and they bring an example such as that to me, and I can say, well, partly I have an experience of talking to dead people, so I can tell you 100% of the time, the rare occasion that they do even speak about their death, it's very unimportant to them, like unimportant, completely unimportant. They will explain to me, oh, they weren't even, like, I wasn't even there. Right? I had an experience with someone who was driven somewhere and murdered and then body buried, and I was given the information to find the body, and in the middle of nowhere. But she was perfectly happy talking to me, and she was saying, "Oh, I don't know. I didn't even see that." I mean, she let me know she was walking away from it before anyway. She was gone. So that's one, certainly. But we can experience anything in joy. We truly can. And I know that sounds crazy. I mean, I'm going through a divorce, and how can I possibly experience this in joy? And joy isn't jumping up and down, right? It's a lot of things: curiosity and excitement and interest and passion. It's all sorts of things. And I know that anyone has the option to experience something in joy. And whatever they are going through, whatever they have chosen, I know they have a choice in how they see it, in their perspective, and understanding that it's just simply coming from the inside out. But that moment of understanding that you are not a victim to your reality is the biggest and most difficult shift. And that's when I'm with someone that might be in that spot, that's the shift that I'm holding. That's the perspective I'm holding on them, that you are not a victim.
Yeah, and that's coming from that much larger version of yourself. That's coming from the soul perspective. That's all. That is from this perspective is almost from the other side, even though
almost.
That's just my way of saying it.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's how it's perceived, but we perceive it so limited on this side, because that's the experience we're having, a limited experience. We've got the forget-me-not going on just to be able to get on with this experience. Do you know what I mean? So that
yes.
we can. Well, I don't want to say. I was going to say suffer there, but we get to feel it, and it's real. Yeah, and Otherwise, it's probably game over. And it
is. The pain is very real. And I think within this work now, I've begun to understand, one, how to sit with that, feel it, realize that fear, pain, whether it's despair, hopeless, loss, grief, any of those emotions that are all fear, to recognize if I sit with it and let it, just dare it, come on. And I'm going to go into it, that thing that you think you're going to die if you let this emotion. So we resist it so much. But if I sit with it and say, just come on, and I go all the way in, I realize it's just honestly this thin veil. And it sounds crazy, but every single time, and I just go right through it, and I say, oh, okay, that fear is nothing compared to who we are. It's nothing compared to who you are. But just letting it be and recognizing rather than run from it. Don't try to change it. Don't try to change what you're thinking. Don't try to think positive. No, just be in it. It's okay. And you will see you're on the day.
Well, that gets chucked around a lot, doesn't it? The positive thinking aspect of it. Yeah, you're not allowed any negative thoughts. It's all got to be positive. To me, that's just not reality.
Who can do that? I mean, I practice a lot of metacognition, right? Thinking about what I'm thinking about. No, it's just there's no way to do that. But if you start to recognize, okay, this is how I feel. That's what I'm thinking. There's my perspective. And what I do and what Gary and I do is we have all these little tools and exercises that little by little, we help people just slightly shift their perspective till all of a sudden they say, wait a minute, right? It's a completely different thing because you can't just, I don't know, maybe somebody can. I've never been able to
I'm with you on that. Now, I want to get to some challenge, just to maybe just even one more question here.
Sure.
Maybe two. Just going back to money, because that's a big thing for people right now, right? Whether their business is being affected with everything that's going on, because obviously the economy is slowing down a bit. We've got banks that have been collapsing. There's the war in Europe, and there's all sorts of stuff as per normal going on. But you would probably call money a distraction. People say, all I want, and I've said this as well, just give me the money, show me the money, right? But that goes against value fulfillment, doing what you're really drawn to do. Yes, I know we've gone into detail where you have about, just being where you are right now and getting to that point, or maybe some of us are breaking the barrier and are at that point almost. They've just got to get through a little bit more to take off. But doing it from the money perspective, it's never worked for anyone long term, and it never will.
No, it doesn't. If you look even, I'll start here because I can. If you start even with the billionaire example, a billionaire, they do what they do. It has nothing to do. They don't care. I'm going to invest millions of dollars into this. They don't care about the money. They care about the thing they're doing. They're excited about that thing, right? That mentality. But it's really more than that. White Light explained to me, because it drove me crazy for years hearing that, take money out of the equation. Make your decision, take money out of the equation. I would get so mad. And I told White Light, how do you take money out of an equation? Because money is the damn equation. It is. I might want to stay at the Ritz-Carlton, but I can only afford the Holiday Inn Express. And making that decision based on money, because it is the decision. That's it. It's the only decision. And that's when White Light was, okay, now calm down. Money is a distraction. It is here as part of this game to give you something to follow, to discover who you are by discovering who you're not. All right. So how do I let it go? I said, by choosing something based on your perspective. If you look at the Ritz-Carlton and the Holiday Inn Express, and that's all you're choosing between. If you don't choose by money, but you say, well, all right, if I choose the Ritz-Carlton, I know that I will likely have some manifestation events, perhaps around money or other things, because I'm not in line with that, right? I don't see the money in my bank, or if I do see the money in my bank, I know it's allocated for other things, right? So my perspective on this Ritz-Carlton is that I can't quite afford it, but I know there exists a person, there exists a version of me that easily does. And I can get to that perspective. Now I can push it if I want to do the work, if you understand what I'm saying. So I go and I have what we call manifestation events, which are things that we perceive many times are negative, but they're showing us where we're limited. That's all it is. So I process that. So I can do that. I can stay in the Ritz-Carlton and I can push my perspective up that high, that fast, if I want to do the work. But if I want a nice relaxing weekend, or I'm exhausted and I don't feel like doing that, I might want to choose the thing that I know the only manifestation event I'm probably going to have is going to be because of the service or because something in the bathroom's broken, right? It's not going to be anything else. So I choose based on perspective and what do I want to do? How far do I want to go? How much do I want to push myself? Either one is fine, but don't choose because you can't do this because you're limited. Choose because you aren't willing to push your perspective up that high and then go through what you're going to go through to process. That's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Choose the other one because you're just looking for a light, easy ride. You just don't want to do that much work.
I get that. I absolutely.
Yeah.
So just to reiterate something here as well. How to raise your vibration, and the sense that everything's happening to me to get me to where I need to go.
For me. Everything's happening.
Everything's happening for me. Okay.
Yeah. Big difference.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot to this work. There is a lot to your work. Okay. Well, maybe we could do a few Q&A with the white light.
Want to talk to white light?
Yeah. I've got a number of questions.
They're really close. When they want to speak, it's funny. I can feel it. So they're there. They do it sometimes.
And thank you so much for what you've been saying there as well. And if you just want to talk the audience a little bit through what your process is of connecting as well.
Sure. At first, let me explain this. When I am channeling white light, I have about 7 different streams of thought that come, which people find interesting. There's a stream that's just blocks of thought. There's a stream that is really words, sentences, full sentences, one after the other. Moving pictures, still pictures, emotion. I have another stream that's just full on emotion. And then I have another stream that I haven't yet figured out, which just seems to be lines, different sizes and lengths of lines with color underneath and vibration. And I don't know what that is. I have no idea. They say that I translate it. I couldn't tell you what it is. I have no idea. And so in all of that, it all comes in. And if I'm translating, then I wait, I sort of download it, and then I will say what I'm seeing or what I'm hearing. When I let them come in to speak, they've taught me how to, I used to have to go completely out, right? It was a trance, completely passed out. And that's a funny story. But then they taught me how to, they said, if you'll get to that space where you can feel us, it's almost like a heartbeat that I can feel, you'll notice that you start to giggle. And it's true. I could hear it on the recordings when I would go out. I would go, I start to giggle, and then I'm just gone. And they say, if you'll feel that giggle and swallow, there we will be. So that really just is the process. And then during it, everything comes in, all of those streams of thought. I'm far back. I can still see you, but not well. And I will have to be reminded of what questions were asked before I can remember the answers. I don't know what the answers are. So, yeah. So I'll just bring them in. They'll say whatever below or whatever they say. And then you can ask whatever you like.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for this. I've been looking forward to it.
We are looking forward to speaking with you as well. You are a magnificent being of love, and we honor that. We acknowledge your work, and we acknowledge within your vibration the great curiosity that has not only led you to this work, but also brings with it the continuous questioning about where you are and who you are. This is honored more than you know.
Well, yes, that's for sure. I'm always asking myself those questions. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wanted to dive in there with one question, but I'm going to bring up another one just right now. What is your connection with Joshua, in a sense, and this alignment of energy that it seems to be with Christy and Gary, but we're really talking about between yourself and Joshua, I think.
We are at the center. We are all one. There is no separation. We understand from your human perspective that it is helpful to separate, to categorize, and to label things. As Christy will like to say, she appreciates that we are appearing to be outside of her because she trusts us and brings information to others, and she does not trust herself. If this information and if we are just an aspect of her, then she would not trust it. From the non-physical perspective, we are information. We are simply Christy's teacher. She has accessed a frequency where we exist and have agreed to be with her and have, as you may well understand, the lives that are experienced concurrently that are expressed as past lives. We have been with her on all of these journeys. And it has been expressed from her in other ways, not in this way as it is in this life. The Joshua group that you know of is an evolution council of sorts that has an interest in all physical realities that are experiencing some sort of transcendence, some sort of conscious evolution. This is what they are interested in. They are teachers. And this group, Gary is a part of this group. He is a member of this group. And this connection with them, this is something the two of them have done over and over, have experienced lives in this earth dimension and others, although Christy will snarl her nose at this idea. This is something that is just exists, and it is fine to believe or not to believe. But the connection is with all. It is, in essence, the four: Gary, Christy, Joshua, white light. The four is one, and one with you and with all of you, and now eternally connected with you. And we believe you can feel this, and you know that we have been with you and a part of you always as well.
Well, thank you very much. So a very kind of earthly based question, but what is the difference between, would you say, a rich mindset and a poor mindset? Or is that just a very human way of explaining something that we don't quite understand by saying that in the first place?
It is not that you do not understand. It is that you are experiencing a reality that is based in duality of better or worse, of higher or lower. And this is what does not exist. And this is what would benefit you to begin to lean into. The experience of money or no money in any moment is simply that. It is an experience. It is not better or worse. But in the moment of seeing that this is more than an experience, that this idea of no money is that I lack something. I am not abundant. I am a victim. I do not have what I need. I do not have what I want, and I cannot get what I want. This is a feeling, this is a vibration that will continue generally to reflect back to you this idea, this experience of no money. What we will begin to break down for you here, that we have discussed on other occasions, is that these things that you believe about yourself are interwoven. And there are those of you that believe that a person cannot be rich and also be kind and generous. And this creates within them a point of being frozen, an inability to move to what they truly want, to move to their birthright of being and having and doing anything that they desire. This is your birthright. There is nothing being kept from you. There is nothing stopping you. There are no answers. There is no money. There is no nothing being kept from you. But these beliefs that to be this, I must be this, these are insidious. These are things that are deep within you, that as you begin to go inside and quiet your mind, that you will be allowed to see them. They will float to the surface and then can be addressed. But these things stop many of you. This idea that I must be this, I cannot have this and this. It is there. It is what you believe, and it will cause you to see the same reflection over and over.
Okay, then thank you for that. But just make this personal then for me, so that I understand that, and maybe it will help others as well.
Yes.
So, what have I personally been doing, or not doing, or avoiding, or not? Yeah, it's very difficult to put it into words. I don't want to blame myself for anything, right? But at the same time, yeah, just switch that to me then. Why? Because if I had a pot of gold right now, my life would look very different. But maybe we have to go through things to and money stops us from actually getting to where we really should be. We've got to be working things out first to get to that point.
We will say this, and we say this to Christy many times a day. There's never one answer to any question. Every situation, everything that occurs in your reality is answering multiple things at one time. That is the beauty of this universe. There is not one reason. Now, in your case, we will say that you, one, have a very powerful intention that you brought in with you prior to your birth. This is an intention that you have for yourself, something that you wish to experience, to accomplish in this particular life at this particular time on Earth. Now, this is a very unique time on your planet, and many of you that have come with powerful intention to assist in what you call this ascension. We will agree with that terminology in this moment. And yes, for you, there have been things that you needed, wanted to experience, but we will say that the way you are experiencing your life currently is not necessary for you. You are not being schooled. You are not being held down. You are simply making a choice to experience it in the moment, in the way that you are. But you are beginning to see that what is going on outside of you cannot be controlled by your intellect and by your physical effort. This is what you want to see. This is what you have been attempting to teach yourself, to move through your life in relationships, in physical location, in career, in finance, and believe that it is all about what you do, this physical consciousness that is Kevin. That Kevin must hold the relationship up, that Kevin must be this in the relationship for it to go in this way. And then to see that no matter what Kevin physically does, that this must fall apart. There is nothing that can be done physically, not enough physically, that can be done to create the ideal that the consciousness that is Kevin believes he wants to create. This time is for you to show yourself that what you truly want is unknown to you, and that there is no amount of control, no amount of effort, that you must lean into that which you truly are. And to do that, you must do the one thing you are most afraid of, which is to go inside yourself. It would appear that as brilliant and talented and healthy and loving as you are, that you, with your hands, could create an ideal life. And you are showing yourself and teaching yourself that there is much more to you, and your intention cannot be accomplished with your physical hands and your intellect. You must lean into that which you truly are. And this in itself is your greatest fear. But we are here to tell you that there is nothing to be afraid of, that you are loved and supported, and you have everything that you need and more to do everything that you want to do and to experience life in the way that you wish to experience it. You are beginning to recognize that you have friends, you have offers, and you have things reaching for you from places that you did not expect. And as you go further into yourself and within, and begin to feel from there and listen from there, you will see that all of the support and physical help that you need is right in front of you with hands outstretched. But you must go through that which you fear the most to see it. Do you understand?
Yeah, I think so. So facing your fears is obviously a big part of it as well. And when I say fears, I mean the fear of doing that next step, going within what you want to do, what you feel at your heartstrings, and deeper than that, just what gives you joy, what really gets you going, where it just, yeah. But there's a lot of distractions sometimes for some of us, isn't there? And
there are many,
yeah,
many distractions, and this fear is great, and it is a wonderful illusion, but it is nothing compared to the power of who and what you are. But the distractions, these things, this is what your ego that wants to keep you safe. Your ego does not want you to die. Your ego's job is to keep you here, to keep you alive. And this is a wonderful thing. But in these times, it is interfering with your ability to recognize and see who you truly are. You cannot die. You will not die. And those things that you are afraid of, just behind them is everything that you want. And you have everything you need. When you move through it, you will laugh and say, my God, I cannot believe I was afraid. I cannot believe I resisted. I believed that there was no time. I believed I had to be this. I had to do this. I believed there was no money. There was no support. But that is all an illusion.
And then can that be a summarization for some people in the sense of how to manifest money into your life from coming from that? Because you did say that everyone's on a different journey, which I get that, right? But in some basic raw way, is that an analogy in a sense for others for manifesting money into one's life?
We can feel within Christy when she senses that we are going to say that everyone is on their own journey. She feels that this is a cop-out. She thinks this is a ridiculous answer to anything. And we will go a bit further here for you. And we will say that you spoke earlier of the law of attraction. And in the idea of manifesting money into your life, the premise here, to even begin to think that thought and take score, means that you must notice that you do not have money. And this is where it begins. This is how you, all of you, get more and more and more of an experience that you do not wish to have. There is no lack anywhere in this universe. And you will say, but white light, there are children that do not have enough to eat. And there are people that live in poverty. And we'll say, yes, we understand that you see this. And we will also say that there is no lack, but there is an abundance of the experience of lack. There is as much of that as one would like to explore. But at the moment, the choice is in the perspective. The one to understand in a moment that is it possible? This is the biggest shift. Is it possible that this is happening for me? Is it possible that I am in this situation where I am sleeping, where I am living, where I feel like I am perhaps imprisoned? No. And does it seem that it could be possible, just possible, that this is for me? Could I be an aspect of source energy? Could I be an image of God? Could I be a creator? Is it possible that I am a creator and not a victim? In the moment that you consider this as a possibility, the shift in perspective is great. It is the largest, most magnificent shift in perspective. And this is where the energy is created in the universe. We show it to Christy as if a match across a matchbook. The beginning is one perspective, strike the match across to the higher perspective, and all of the energy that sparks from that move, not from each perspective, from this shift. To manifest money is to say that I do not have it. To get to the perspective that where I am is perfect. to look at what you have and say, I have everything I need to do what I need to do in this moment. And if I need to do it, I will have what I need. But the step must be taken first. There is no wait until it is there and then take the step. The step must be taken, and behind it creates the vortex of energy, and the perspective shift allows one to see a different reality.
Thank you. What about the path of least resistance for some people? Taking the path of least resistance, because just personally, I mean, I want that question for everyone, or the answer for everyone. But personally, I don't think I'm taking the path of least resistance. But is that the way?
In your case in particular, we would not say that you have chosen the path of least resistance in any manner at all. Not at all. This is not the experience. For others, the path of least resistance, certainly it is all about how you feel. We want to insert this here in a way that impacts you and all of you. How you feel is everything. You are always only feeling something. Now, if you wish to change your future because you do not feel good now and you want something to come into your life so that you will feel better, we promise you this will not happen. You may attract something that gives you a feeling for a moment, but yet, it always fades. That thing, that condition, that person, that situation cannot make you feel anything. So if something new coming into your life really can't make you feel anything, then how can the conditions in which you find yourself now make you feel anything? They cannot. You are feeling something because of how you are choosing to see your current conditions. If you can look at your current conditions and find what you appreciate about it, find what about it could be for you. How could this be for me? How could Christy look at a murder of one she loved and the imprisonment of another and say, this somehow is for me, and watch it and see the love? What is the love around you, Kevin? What is there that is supporting you, from the air around you to the beauty that you see, to the sounds that you see? We know that you have a particular connection to music, and you have the ability to listen to this. You have the ability to think. You have the time to meditate. And you have created a perfect cocoon for yourself to do this. And it is perfect for you. How you see your current conditions, how you see your current circumstances, and how you then feel about them is what will generate the image you see in the next moment from the inside out, because we promise you there is nothing out there. There is nothing outside of you. There is nothing there. It is a projection from inside you to out there, and it is projected based on how you feel, your perspective on yourself and your reality. This is all that is happening.
So if I was just, thank you very much. If I was just to ask you then, okay, and you kind of answered this really, but how to create your best life. What is some of very briefly, what are some of the things to create someone's best life then?
We would say to that to recognize in any moment that what you see outside of you does not control how you feel. To focus on those things that bring you joy. Focus on that which you are grateful for. Focus on that which you appreciate. And as you do this, allow yourself to feel it throughout your body, to physically feel it. Feel your curiosity. Feel your joy in the moment that you hear a song that you love, that you hear something new, that you think, this is wonderful. Appreciate that. These physical senses that allow you to taste and touch and feel, even if what you feel below you is a floor that you are sleeping on and you do not like it. But you have shelter and you can feel it. You can. And let that appreciation wash over. And as you do that in every moment, what must come back is more that you appreciate. It isn't that you will get more of the same. You will get more that becomes easier for you to appreciate. This is how you create a beautiful life for yourself.
Absolutely. So appreciation is a big part of that. I totally get that as well. So thank you. But there is a significance as well of taking action that needs to happen as well.
Yes. To get to that place where you feel gratitude, you feel appreciation, you feel curiosity, this level of joy that is just interest, curiosity, passion, whatever those emotions are to you, to be in that spot and then listen to the ideas that come. And do not judge those ideas. Do not say, that is ridiculous. My parents will not like that. I am not capable of that. I cannot afford that. That takes too much time. People will think I'm crazy. Do not judge it. Take the idea that you have and find one thing within that idea that you can act on in the moment. The universe loves action and it loves speed. When you have an idea, there is one thing in the moment that you can do. We promise you that you can do it. And you, in that moment, you take that one action and you move on. This is where action comes into play. You want to have your hands in the clay. This is how.
Absolutely. Thank you. And is there a power in the words that we in the words that we speak and think when it comes to the subject of, creating your value fulfillment, what you would feel is your best life? These are just words. Do you know what I mean? I know we've gone over this, but yeah, just to put it into a question.
Yes, we will say that your thoughts and your words, there isn't a power in them that is something to be afraid of or something that you wield out there to create anything. But the words that you say, the actions that you take, and the thoughts that you attract are showing you where you are. They are showing you your perspective. If the thoughts that you attract are that these people are stupid and they do not know what they're doing, and why is this line so long, and why would anyone pay this much for coffee? If these are your thoughts, you can recognize that, this is far from the perspective that will generate the kinds of things I want to experience. This is the power in that. The power is that it shows you where you are and where you'd like to go. And this is all that it is. There is not anything specific happening here. It is for you. It is your barometer.
Thank you. I think sometimes there's a lot of, the mind gets in the way, doesn't it? And there has to be somewhere along this process a sort of mind-heart synchronicity.
We call this coherence. Call this the moment in meditation where you overcome your body, this resistance where the body wants to scream. How long is this meditation? How long does this music go? How long are we going to sit here? We have things to do. What are you doing? We have bills to pay. We have an interview to do. The overcoming of the body in the moment where the body is overcome and relaxes in and now allows the mind to become the master once again and the heart then to lead. When all of these are synchronized with no thought and no time, no body, no where, there is no place. It is the universe. The universe is within you. It is not out here. This moment of quieting that and allowing that coherence, then in that moment, just after this meditation, the movement and the thought and the action comes from the heart center, not from the body leading or the mind leading with the thoughts that are attracted, but it is from this heart center, which is ascension.
Well, I just want to thank you so very, very much. You've given us a lot of time, and thank you for what you've shared there as well. That will carry on with me for some while, so thank you.
Thank you. We know you, and we love you.
Much love. Thank you. Well, that was interesting, Christy.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I do it every time.
Yeah.
I should have warned you. Yeah, I cough every time.
Yeah.
So, okay, great.
That was, yeah. That was great. That was great. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah.
They're cool, right? I love them. They don't have a ton of personality, but damn.
No. That is, and I meant what I said there. I'll be taking that away with me, and I'll listen back to this. I will.
Good.
That's what I needed to hear. So, and I know it will help others as well. It will, because it's not just me going through this. There's many.
It's everyone.
Yeah.
All the time. It's different. Everyone. It's amazing how unique we are and how completely not unique we are. And I guess it's because we're all one, right? But it's amazing to me. And I always have this gratitude, like for you, going through what you're going through, because you're just me from another perspective. And I think, thank you, because when I see someone that's maybe homeless experiencing that, I just think I can't get all the way to some of the places that white light wants me to get with it, but I can get to, all right, thank you for having that experience so I don't have to. Right? I know that you're doing it for me. And then I can hear an inspiration that might be to give them money or might be to say, whatever it is. But in that place of feeling bad for someone, you can't hear it.
And that, whatever the experience is for many people, yeah, that can be said in so many ways, can't it, for what people go through. Yeah, that's interesting, actually.
It is, right?
Yeah, it is. Now, your website, just one last time, is?
ChristyLevy.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll put that link in the description below. Again, there's the courses that you've spoken about on there. There's ways to contact you for one-on-one sessions, bits of information about you. Gary's on there as well, I'm sure. So
there's some mention of Gary, right, as well, and links to his website too. Yeah.
We'll put all that down below the video. or they can go straight to yours from listening to this podcast as well. So I just want to say you've given us almost 2 hours of your time. So just a thank you so much for that, because that's a long session. Thank you.
It flew by. Thank you. I have so much fun talking to you.
We got through quite a bit. A bit. So I'm sure our paths will cross, and I wish you all the best for what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. And the same to you. Wonderful. I hope to see you soon.